Netanyahu went public with announcing his new spokesman for foreign media, Dr. Evan Cohen, who is a tenured linguistics professor at Tel Aviv University. In his announcement, Netanyahu highlighting Cohen's work as a gay rights activist within the Likud party and the co-founder of the Likud Pride Caucus. And Evan joins me now in studio. Great to see you, Evan. I should note here that I have known you for years, but Israelis really don't. The world certainly doesn't know who you are. You're a respected linguistics professor. How on earth does that lead to being tapped to be one of the most key international advisors and spokesmen for the prime minister? How do you go from professor at Tel Aviv U to Netanyahu's spokesman?
Well, first of all, I was never only a professor. I'm no stranger to the media. Ever since I've started my political life, the past decade or so, I've worked a lot with the media, both local and foreign media. On political issues, LGBT issues, Israeli issues. These are things that I'm no stranger to, as I mentioned earlier. And it actually, funnily enough, the whole thing began because of you guys here at I-24. I was interviewed on one of your shows with Kalev, and the Prime Minister, who watches your show, saw my interview and invited me into his office to discuss the possibility of employing me.
It wasn't your only I-24 News appearance. I guess you wanted more clips from your time here.
I've been on I-24 several times, but that was my most recent, about 6 weeks ago. And by the way, this is something that I'd like to reiterate. This was 6 weeks ago, not yesterday. So the Prime Minister only announced this yesterday, but 6 weeks ago the actual procedure began. And this is something that can take anything from 6 weeks to 3 months.
But really, I mean, not to toot our own horns, but it is because of your appearance on this channel that the Prime Minister himself saw with his own eyes how you handle yourself in front of the media? I think so.
I think so. I mean, I think that first of all, compliment. You do your job really well on I-24, and I think that the whole way the interview was conducted, the way the interviewer conducted himself, the way I conducted myself, was what the Prime Minister wanted to see.
What do you make then of the timing? You mentioned the process started more than a month ago. Many people in Israel and Israeli media say it's cynical that the timing of it was announced only during the height of the Peretz gay conversion therapy scandal, that he announced it only then. Certainly you would agree the timing raises some eyebrows.
Okay, so we have to look at the timeline exactly. So the whole procedure started about 6 weeks ago, more or less. A week before the announcement, Saturday evening, Likud Pride decided to replace me with someone else because I was starting the new position. So this was something that was actually in the process of beginning. So I had the week with which to prepare myself. So the timing had nothing to do with the fact that that Peretz said what he said. But basically what happened was that the timing coincided with the fact that Peretz said what he said. It was going to happen anyway, which is why I resigned a week earlier from the head of the Likud.
Does it bother you that Netanyahu's statement only mentions your work in the Likud Pride, in the caucus, doesn't mention your linguistics professor work or your academic career?
I think one of the mentions was of the fact that I was a linguistics professor at Tel Aviv University. The focus on the LGBT issue, I think, was because this is my political background. This is where I come from politically. And I'm also, I was a Likud activist. I operate within the Likud. Prime Minister Netanyahu knows me from my activities within the Likud. And this was something that was worthy of mention. I think it's relevant.